Very cool. I wish I could have joined you. I would have. I keep meaning to get to these big conferences, Ethereum or Avalanche or anything else. The
Yeah, it's
Bitcoin
kind of
one.
interesting, right? Yeah, the Bitcoin one. Yeah, and I was going to say, Pap, there are plenty of conferences going on through the rest of this year, so definitely get your passport ready, sir. Let's well, maybe not passport. We got a lot of domestic events as well here, but yeah, it's kind of fun because it's not funny, because we operate in our, decentralized, autonomous, anonymous kind of space here, as I call you, Pap, right? And these conferences are all real people, face to face, real names, right? Shaking hands and stuff. So it's an interesting way to kind of, reconcile these two worlds. But it's great. It's great to network. It's great to, make new friends, project friends, and hopefully forge some partnerships out of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. It is an interesting. I don't say dilemma, but challenge coming from a decentralized space. The in-person conferences are such a distinct uh, difference from how we operate day to day. But that's I think it's just kind of the inevitability. Docs, no docs, and on teams, on and on teams. I mean, there's just nothing replaces that human element of going out to these conferences and making friends across different communities.
Yes, sir. That's what it's all about. And actually, shout out to Trader Joe and their team. Got a good chance to, get some great FaceTime with Blue and his crew over there, and the Avalanche crew as well. So if they happen to be listening to this at some point, shout out. Good to see you all, and let's keep chatting.
Yeah, definitely. I do appreciate out of all the responses to any of our tweets in the past couple of weeks, Trader Joe had the best one hands down. Your meme game is very much on point.
We don't have to explain the exact meme, but I know what you're talking about. That's uh, yeah, that was probably the highlight of that week for me too.
So I think RT will be joining us. I know you're in transit, so we'll cover down on what we can here. I think the topic that we were going to cover this week, the big thing, is talking about two upcoming features or two things we're looking at, right? The borrow loan feature, the borrow lend feature, however you want to call it, which is based on Alchemix, which is easily the market leader within DeFi, within crypto, in terms of self-paying loans. And we have been building uh, since last year, I guess you could call it like a fork, an upgraded fork of sorts of their version one D app. We completed the audit for that, I believe, almost 2 months ago, maybe a month ago. And then, of course, in response to uh, the audit, there's some things you have to patch and some things you got to fix, and I think we're coming to the end on that. But we're really excited about that being the next feature. In addition to that, we also are going to talk a little bit about bribing. This is something that's come up a few times in the past. We've talked about as a feature that we'd love to have, especially the VE token model. It just kind of fits in, when you're talking about that tug of war, that weekly tug of war, and that jockeying for a percent of the protocol's emissions, to your particular strategy, the one that you guys, whatever your personal one is. So I think that's going to help us be more well-rounded. It's going to help provide additional value for the token. And somewhere we've talked about this in recent weeks, which is providing more avenues for the yAxis token to be spent within the protocol besides just selling it, right? We want to incentivize people to lock it up. We want to incentivize people to use it within, other utility within the app. So uh, I think for the first one, talking about the loan feature. So first, let's just kind of frame, what are we talking about when we say, borrow, loan, borrow, lend? Uh, there are a few protocols out there that offer this type of service, and basically what it is you take an amount of collateral, you deposit it into the app, and the app in return says, okay, based on the type of tokens you provided, we can give you X amount back. It's not going to be one for one, because you have to consider that when you do deposit something, that the market's going to continue to be volatile, right? The price is going to continue to move up and down. So it's usually a percentage of your total collateral that you can get back. But what's great about this is once you do that trade, you walk away with the cash. That loan is self-paying, and now it's not gonna be a strategy that's gonna just pay itself off overnight. I've looked into Alchemix in the past, and some of those loans can take they could take years even to pay off, but it's a self-paying loan, and that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I can't think of anything that's more crypto than that. And some of the other market leaders out there that we are going to be I believe we're going to be offering more competitive rates than them, but some of the other ones out there like MakerDAO, Abracadabra, Alchemix obviously is the one that we based our feature on. They all do this in some form. Some of them only offer singular vaults. For example, you can only use DAI, or you can only use MIM. uh, I'm not sure, Mister, if you're still here. Do we know how, what assets we are going to be looking at for depositing?
Yeah, we do. I'd like to keep that maybe in the back pocket for now, just so we can announce that when we get a
Hmm.
little bit closer to launch. We're pretty close right now, but maybe here's a little bit of a hint. The reason why we're better positioned than our competitors um, with this type of product is we we already have our core yield engine, right? We have our V3 vaults on Ethereum and Avalanche, and that is how we generate the yield ourselves to pay back those loans, right? And what that allows us to do is give borrowers access to higher, what you're speaking to, Pappy, is loan to value ratio, right? You can't get that one to one, but you can give your collateral in return for borrowing against your collateral at a ratio of out there. It's it ranges between like 30 and 50%. Alchemix is a 50% LTV, which means for every $100 you bring in, they'll give you a $50 loan, and they'll pay back that $50 loan on your behalf. But the great thing for us is we have native yield, right? We don't have to we're not losing points on our yield by going third party or routing the collateral through other protocols. We're doing it through ourselves, right? And that's going to give us more competitive LTV. So we'll definitely be beating, the market in terms of what the loan to value ratio will be. And here's a little hint: since we are using our yield engine and we are intending to take stables as collateral, there aren't very many choices as far as what vaults we currently have that we may be using for stables collateral. So that's too much alpha already, but yeah, I'd love to keep that in the back pocket just for kind of a launch announcement, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that is a good bit of information, and I think it's like you said, it's a loan to value where we're really going to try to differentiate ourselves from competitors. And when you look at other protocols when they've launched these types of services, it's been a big boon to the project, right?
Yeah, and for us, it's great because that collateral we we put to use to generate yield, but also so
I,
multiple angles it's coming in with benefit.
and I think we might be losing you a little bit there, sir. I think your signal your signal is breaking up. Either that or it's me.
Oh, sorry about that. Is this any better?
Just yeah, a little bit.
Okay, why don't you take it here for a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's okay. So I mean, maybe this is a good segment to move into the next topic, which talking about the bribing feature. That one I'm not sure how far along or how much we want to share on that. I believe we were going to do a post up to discourse, kind of elaborating on the direction we want to go. But from the Dow Council perspective, everything we've seen so far, this looks like a good move, and this is something we're very interested in implementing as soon as we can.
Yeah, I don't know if this is any better in terms of reception, but just to kind of we don't want to kind of preempt any partnerships that we may or may not be talking to right now. But yeah, on the bribery market, maybe it would help, Pap, if to kind of like explain what the whole point of the bribery market is. In fact, just to kind of like start off with how the e-voting works, for example.
Sure. Yeah. So the bribery mechanism. Actually, I guess we take a step back. One of the big innovations, a thing that we were really excited to roll out, is part of yAxis, and I believe we were one of the earlier implementers of this after Curve. But Curve in the past years implemented the voting escrow tokens, which is I would say the most recent model in terms of how DeFi protocols try to tackle that ongoing dilemma of an inflationary token supply, high emissions, and the sell pressure that comes with the tokens. And so the thing that Curve came up with was the VE token, and the VE token, uh, it in essence the same thing that we have, right? Is you gain voting power based on how much and how long you lock up your tokens. So you could lock a little bit of tokens up for a long time, or you could lock a lot of tokens up for a shorter period of time. And then with that gives you the ability to vote on the emissions and drive them to your particular strategies that you prefer. Now, that's only part of it, right? The other part of this is what we call the bribery mechanism. As this feature gained traction, people realized, hey, maybe I have excess tokens, or hey, maybe I'm just not concerned. Maybe I'm just holding these tokens because I'm speculating on the token itself. But the tokens and the power that comes with that, the voting power, that has value. And so you see these essentially a secondary market coming up where people can bribe you to vote in support of their strategy, their vault. They get a benefit in that their investment is now boosted because you vote for it, and then you get the benefit of being paid, otherwise incentivized to vote for that. So now your VE tokens aren't just sitting there gathering dust; they're put to work, and it's a win-win.
Right, exactly. And for folks that are kind of deciding, like, there's this, value of locking up to get the BE tokens to get your personal APR boost on vault emissions, right? Your personal vault APRs. But yeah, like you've been saying, Pat, you can use that to boost the emissions even further globally to the vaults by voting, right? Now, for a lot of folks, it might just come down to kind of like a personal calculation on like, hey, is it worth it? Is it worth it for me to vote, right? Like I've already locked up and I've used that to boost my APR. Is it now worth it to vote to steer more emissions there? Uh, Maybe, right? But with a bribery market, what that calculus what it does to that calculus is it adds another option. It's, hey, I've locked up to boost. Awesome. Now, do I want to vote, or do I want to potentially sell my vote to somebody else that is maybe more interested and maybe perhaps has a larger vault position that, you know, is it provides that larger holder, it gives them more incentive to vote, right? And so that's what that secondary bribery market does, is it enables, it unlocks just another piece of value, or another way to get value out of your VE yAxis tokens, right? It's kind of like that in my mind, really. It's kind of like a 1, 2, 3. It's like, one, you get the value from just the lock on boosting your APR. Two, you can steer your rewards to additional rewards towards your vault, and then, or three, you can use the intrinsic value of your vote and go sell that, right? Go unlock that intrinsic value of your vote, because somebody else may actually value it more than you, and they may be willing to pay you for that. So that's essentially kind of, what we've been thinking of doing, but now, we are talking to partners to actually get this marketplace set up. Yeah, don't want to give any timelines on that, but that is a near-term priority for sure.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things is you can find a lot of articles talking about this bribing and how it really complements the VE token model in the more recent developments in the DeFi space. And also the kind of the stark difference is in that there was comparisons done between what Curve has been reporting, in terms of success with a stark increase in the amount of tokens locked up compared to a lot of other protocols, even other leading protocols, where I think one of them was Compound, and they found that out of the top accounts in Compound, less than 20% retained more than 1% of their tokens, and only 7% kept more than 50%. And so, with Compound being one of the market leaders, it really shows you that this is kind of a very rapidly evolving space, but two, it's a challenge even for the big boys. And so I think the more that we model ourselves after Curve and after the things that we know Curve has done well, the more, and even now already, I think our Ethereum ecosystem, not that we want to only be aligned with Curve and Convex, but it is strongly aligned with them. And I think that's a smart move, because they really coming into the end of 2021 and coming into 2022, they've really emerged as the market leader, and in my opinion, have probably the most sustainable model at this time in terms of DeFi governance tokens and managing those emissions and managing that selling pressure on the token. So anyways, all that to say that the bribing feature is going to be really exciting, and I can't wait for that to come out. Also, that along with, I think that, in timing, from a timing perspective, Mister, it's probably, we're looking at that borrow loan feature in the near term, right? That's our next target, our next big target. The bribery work, a lot of that's off the contract, right? I don't know that necessarily is something that's a lot of work for the engineers as much as it is building a relationship with a secondary market. Is that kind of an accurate statement?
Yeah, I would say so. It really comes down to kind of like, hey, we are a lean team, and development bandwidth is a set constant. So where do we prioritize that work, right? And what it really comes down to for us, I think, is trying to figure out, like, okay, do we go heads down and stay building on revenue generating products? I think yes. Or do we go and build a bribery market that perhaps could generate a little bit of, incremental revenue, uh, but does provide tremendous value to the community. So it's hey, what is going to continue to drive TVL and revenue for the project versus work that will unlock value for the community, for VE yAxis holders, right? And at the end of the day, we're leaning towards keeping our dev resources focused on revenue generation, right? On work that will move the bottom line for us, and looking to partner with, external secondary markets, the partners to enable our bribery markets for us. So in that world where we do work with partners, you're right, exactly. There's not much engineering lift required on yAxis. There is a little bit. I mean, with all things development, you're definitely going to need to make sure that everything works, that you have those conversations and those handshake scope calls up front. But after that, we will be very much likely looking to partners to maintain and run that bribery market on our behalf. And that does come with a little bit of giving a few points over on each transaction to the partner. I mean, that's just how markets work, right? They have to have an incentive on their end to run the market. So yeah, that's kind of the way we're looking at it, going third party, going with partners and reducing the impact on our engineering resources while still being able to deliver that value, because we do believe there is big value there for the yAxis holders to be able to unlock and capture, right? Maybe, what if you can consider whatever, you know, value of a bribe might be, you can consider that part of your yield as well, right? That is income on that VE axis holders from that VE axis holders perspective. So when we say unlocking value, we're looking at ways to give VE axis holders basically additional yield, right? And how can we do that while still remaining focused on things like you're saying, Pat, right? The borrow feature, right? Making sure that we can not only serve folks that are looking to generate returns on their digital assets, right, by using our vaults, but also allow them to maybe, consider borrowing against future yield on their stable coins upfront rather than having to wait for rewards to come through block by block, to just straight up be like, okay, I can borrow this future yield upfront, but that just means I have to keep my collateral there until the loan is paid back. It's just another option, right? And that's kind of the way we're thinking about it. Let's focus on those things that deliver revenue generating streams for the protocol for yAxis, while also being able to continue to deliver additional value on in so many different ways for the community.
Yes, sir. And I think to follow that borrow loan feature, we'll actually have some community bounties going out. I'm working with the council on actually it's RT.eth that's it's spearheading this, but the council is working on an infographic. So if anyone listening to this has experience in like graphic design or designing things like infographics, we have the raw data we're looking to put together. We almost do. I think we're wrapping that up, and then we'll put that bounty out soon. And that'll be part of our launch plans, and getting that set of infographics out to some key communities in space. And this is the one, for me personally, just as a yAxis investor, this is the feature. That borrow feature is the one that I've been most excited about, because I've been watching Alchemix for a while, and I thought it's such a clever protocol, such a clever idea, and it's continued to mature over time. In the fact that we're bringing a yAxis spin to that, and we're bringing a highly competitive version of that to market is just, for me, is like super exciting. I can't wait. So I think I wanted to pivot just to, on the herds, as part of the kind of ongoing segments, we're gonna talk about also any current discussions within the forums, any yips or any proposals. So we currently don't have any yips open. We do have a proposal that's been ongoing. This was published by Sushit T initially, which is actually, it was a great write-up, and he was talking about how to manage the distribution of platform fees to yAxis holders, and then looking at some things, for example, rewarding stakers with something beyond just the native governance token, which is the yAxis token. which will help alleviate some of the sell pressure. So it's actually a great time. I mean, we've referred to this as something on the nearish to mid-range roadmap for the project already, but it wasn't. It was we really didn't deep dive it yet, and so one, really appreciate the community coming out, and I'd love to see more of this. Please, if you guys have ideas, hop on discourse, post it up and say, hey, here's a proposal I'd like to get some feedback on, some consideration on, see what other people think. But in this case, the short answer is yes, we absolutely want to move in that direction. We are absolutely looking at that. I think, I won't 100% speak for the Dow Council, but I believe they're all on board with this as well, as is the team. It's just a matter of timing, and so we do talk about this. We also, in the last post, we talk about, hey, here's some things, some next steps, some things we want to talk about to kind of help shape that and help determine where in the roadmap that belongs. So, if you want to read up on it, please hop onto Discourse and check that out. Leave your thoughts. I think this is an important thing for us to continue discussing as a community. But other than that, there's really nothing being proposed. And I think next. Oh, go ahead, Mister.
Oh no, so I didn't want to interrupt you there. But just wanted to say, while there aren't any fresh proposals or reform discussions, maybe this will be the thing that gets us a new forum post right now, Pat. So that'd be awesome. But as far as Sushi T's post, I can't remember what the title of it was, but maybe it's worth kind of just at a high level, kind of explaining what it was talking about, and
Mhm.
at the I believe in broad strokes, what Sushi T was interested in doing was to start to diversify, right? The start to diversify two things, which is diversify our revenue, our harvest, as well as our emissions. And really, what that comes down to is making sure that we have the technical capability to, first of all, get to capture revenue that is not in y-axis, and second of all, to be able to get to a revenue positive, posture where we can start to distribute that revenue, right? And that revenue, once diversified, can be distributed in terms of, let's say, the Merkle drops that go to VE holders. There's perhaps it's a bit of a longer term objective to do that from an emission standpoint, right? Um, but at the end of the day, those kinds of proposals, love seeing that stuff, because, as you said, Pat, the council, I don't think we have to worry about speaking on their behalf. Pretty sure everybody's on board with that. The team certainly is, to the point where that post was just validation of things that we've already been doing, right? The core issue was that our core buyback model was integrated into our harvest mechanism, right? Into the automated harvest contracts, and we have been taking all our revenue and swapping it into y-axis, which is there is value in doing that, right? I mean, obviously, we wouldn't have done that in the first place if we didn't see value in it, right? But what that really means is we prop up, right, the token price. We support it with our own buy pressure, right? And that used to happen every harvest. But what we've done, and maybe it's a little bit on us for not explicitly communicating this to the point where Sushi T thought that forum post was necessary, but we've already addressed that, right? The buybacks are now turned off. We are capturing revenue in diverse revenue. Actually, we're just capturing it in ETH at this point, and that sets the table for all those other things in the future, right? It sets the table for us to be able to access revenue directly without putting sell pressure on the token, right? Because up until the point where we were capturing diverse revenue, the only option we had was to sell yAxis, and that does work in certain market conditions, right? And but it has been a couple of years since we went live with that model. Market conditions have kind of changed, right? Sentiment is a little bit different in DeFi these days. So we did find that the buyback being automated into every harvest was not the most efficient. So um, all that to say, yeah, we've already started capturing that diverse revenue, and that allows us to immediately take that sell pressure off the token. And that also means that as we accrue more TVL and or generate revenue through other products, like for example, borrow, we'll be in a position to do strategic buybacks, right? So the whole idea of the buyback is sound. The problem that, or maybe the one sticking point, I should say, that we came to realize with automating that buyback as part of Harvest was that we couldn't do it strategically, right? No matter what, on every harvest, we would be buying yAxis tokens, and that's great, right? But we do realize that it is probably more strategic to be able to accrue that that revenue, accrue that cash really, let's just call it cash, right? And wait for token price, market conditions to align, and then do buybacks, right? And that is more akin to what you see in equity markets, right? You see public companies, you see these Fortune 500 companies in the US, just talking about the US right now, but there are analogs in all other equity markets. You see corporations periodically do massive buybacks of their stocks, right? They deploy billions in cash to do stock buybacks, and what that does is it returns value back to shareholders in the form of uh, accreting value into each share, right? And for us, that isn't really a one-to-one model because the token is not a share, but the the value that we transfer to each holder works in the same way. We buy back a bunch of these tokens. It does put buy support there. It does hopefully move the token price up, and that does that does seem to be the smarter way for us to do it, right? So all that to say, yep, totally. Shout out to Sushi T. We've been thinking about it. We've already actioned on pretty much the core technology that we're going to need to make everything that he talks about in that forum post possible in the future, and we're already marching towards it. So and all that to say again, please, we would love to see more forum posts that just validate what we've already been doing. But really, we'd also love to see forum posts that challenge the status quo, right? If there are good ideas out there, even if you think that it's not a good idea, hey, let's discuss it. If you're not sure it's the strongest idea, but you do have this one, tickle in your brain that something should be changed about a certain aspect of the project, put it on the forum. Let's discuss it. Let's make sure that it's heard. And if it does turn out to be something that is worthwhile, we can certainly action on it.
Yeah, I definitely want to encourage that. I think for a lot of people, uh, it's a new kind of dynamic. Being in DeFi and having that kind of direct influence over your investment is something that not everyone acclimates too quickly. It's very different from investing in a bank, right? And you can choose for it to be a passive investment, of course. But if you choose not to be passive, you have many avenues by which to exercise your opinions, or if you have an expertise in a certain thing that you'd like to offer support. I was talking to someone earlier in the week, and I have it on my list here to actually follow up. And I apologize, I should know the name, but uh, someone with some UI UX experience that said, "Hey, be glad to talk to you, Poppy, about some thoughts I have on ways to improve, the interface for yAxis." And that I love those kind of discussions. Even if I don't understand everything we're talking about, I think it's great to have that input that I can share with the team and that we can look at and consider, as a community So,
And
uh,
that I think you make a really good point there, Pap, is even if you don't really understand all the technicalities, right? Being in at part of that discussion, or at least even watching the discussions, right, is a chance to try to start to learn, right? Start to understand. And that's all part of the journey that is DeFi, has been, is, and will continue to be for everybody because the space moves so quickly, right? That we've seen massive trend shifts in 2 years. There, three or four massive trend shifts in just 2 years, right? Things that in the traditional finance space you would be looking at decades or century scale, right? In terms of innovation and ways of thinking about how value can be created. We're moving so quickly that everybody is learning, and that's part of what I mean. Hey, I would hope you agree, Pat. But for me, um, that's part of what makes this so. I mean, for lack of a better term, that makes this fun to do, right? That's what motivates us because it is this learning process, right? And so yeah, that is to say highly encourage everybody to jump in. There are no stupid ideas. There are no stupid statements, right? We love hearing feedback, would love to see the feedback come in without, any negatude, right? And we do see that from time to time, and that's fine because human emotions on market side and related to market, right? The psychology related to price movement, market conditions, and just all the other stresses that are in the crypto space, let alone DeFi. It can weigh right on the psyche. And we totally understand when we see that come through on Discord or the forum or Telegram, what have you, Twitter. But even with that, getting the feedback, getting the ideas, seeing the discussion, that is what makes a community. That is what continues to provide the opportunity for folks to learn and potentially become even more involved in the project as they learn, as they become more excited about the vision, perhaps the technology as well, one would hope, right? And really, I mean, that's how the team got to where they are, right? By being community, plugging in, learning, doing, contributing, elevating themselves. And I mean, Pap, that's, without speaking for you, right? That seems to be kind of the track you've taken as well. So, yeah, no stupid ideas. No, there are no bad ideas. Let's just call them ideas and opportunities to learn. And let's just keep discussing. Let's keep that volume of chatter going, right? That's what we love seeing that.
yes, sir. Yeah, you're right. I knew nothing about DeFi in 2020, and now in 2022, I'm at least a little bit wiser. And there's so much to learn, right? You don't know everything, but it's been a great opportunity working with yAxis. And I think, for anyone that's curious about the space, now's the time, you know, put your hand up, volunteer, say, hey, I got some ideas, or hey, I'd love to help with something. Uh, would love to have you on board, you know, in whatever kind of capacity you guys feel comfortable with. Uh, and we do have a few bounties out there. I'll post the link again into Discord and Telegram where we have some of these bounties sitting. A lot of it right now is for like graphic design, artists, that kind of stuff. But there's definitely other work too. So in terms of agenda, Mister, I know RT wanted to share some stuff. I think he got caught up in another meeting, unfortunately. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I do believe RT did want to touch on the whole bribery thing. So hopefully we did him some justice there. Sorry, RT, if we did not, but there's always next time. There's always happy hour next week, and of course Discord and forum. But really, the thing I'd love to kind of end on is borrow, right? Is our self-repaying loan feature that is right over the horizon. A little bit of alpha for everybody. We have been kind of stuck trying to solve a critical bug that was preventing us from moving forward to fully testing Borrow
Yeah,
on
you're.
a.
I think you're breaking up pretty bad.
Oh, hold on. Is this any better? I'm holding up my
Uh,
phone.
yeah, I think. I mean, you could try.
Yeah, well, okay. So, just wanted to end on saying that we've gone past the critical blocker. We are about to stand up the staging environment and go full on testing from a front end, from a UI perspective, just to make sure that we have validated all the testing that we've done on the back end, which is the smart contracts. Smart contracts already tested. They've been patched after the audit, right? Now we're going on to front end testing and making sure that it all works, talking to the smart contracts. And so from here, we're right on the cusp of launching Borrow, and I think RT did want to mention a little bit about how Borrow how Borrow works. Hopefully, we did him some justice on that today too. But again, yeah, just like you, Pep, I'm super excited for it from a revenue potential for the project, to be honest, right? But for the community, for holders, for folks that are looking to use Borrow, you know, the thing that we're most excited to bring to market is the ability to take out a larger chunk of your collateral as a loan, right? To be able to take your stable coin deposit and access a much higher LTV, loan to value ratio, and be able to take that and access that right away in stable coins, right? Your loan would come to you in a stable coin and you would be able to go do whatever you want with that right out of the gate, right? Maybe you got to pay some bills, maybe you got to buy a car, right? Maybe you want to buy a boat, or whatever it is. You can, we're excited to be able to allow folks to do that, and in addition to giving a much more competitive LTV, we intend to be much more competitive on the repayment horizon on that loan as well, right? So yeah, looking forward to it. Keep an eye on us. We'll definitely be talking about it more. You'll start to see some content come up as we get closer to launch, and certainly some announcement on our testing progress as well.
Yeah, and you're continuing to break up, and so I do apologize if anyone's listening. Mister just got off the plane returning from the Avalanche summit, and so it sounds like the signal's not the greatest at the airport. But looking forward to his. We didn't talk about it, but looking forward to his report back, and everything, all the presentations, some potential partnerships, some new friends in the space, a lot of goodness was happening out there. So that's stuff that we'll circle back to in the coming week. And Mister, I'm gonna maybe pass it to you for one more. If there's anything else you wanted to cover, but you are breaking up pretty bad, and so I don't want to keep you
Yeah,
on
not
too long.
sure, not sure how this is coming through right now, but yeah, it's probably breaking up. But yep, that's it for me.
All right. And for the community, hey, I know this one was probably a little bit shorter than normal. RT got stuck in another meeting. Mister's got his crazy phone issue. So if there's anything that we didn't cover this week that you were hoping to hear about, please hop into Telegram, Discord, drop me a line, and we'll definitely get back to you.